Good morning, everyone. Our hymns will be 170 and 169 for our prelude.
Please rise as you're willing and able in body, mind, and spirit.
We are a gentle, angry people. We are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
Come, come, whoever you are. We are all welcome here. We are all welcome with our varieties of age, size, eye color, hair color, skin color. We are all welcome here. We have many different genders, orientations, speech styles, and abilities, and all of us are welcome here. Some of us come with laughter in our hearts, some with tears in our eyes. Maybe a lot of us with both this week. Some of us believe in God all of the time, some of us believe some of the time, and some of us none of the time. We are all welcome here, no exceptions. Once, I was a stranger here and found a deep welcome. My heart was glad. Each Sunday now, it is renewed again and again. Together, we are a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom. My pronouns are he and his. I have a blue shirt, bushy hair, and no beard. This is the last time you're going to see the skin on these parts of my face. Beard is coming back. We have a few announcements. Let's go ahead and kick off with Cameron is going to come up and introduce himself.
Morning, everybody. My name's Cameron Adams. As a lot of us know, Riley has moved on. He was the director of religious exploration. For anybody that's not familiar, that's just our children's education program. He's moved on to a master's program and needed to commit himself to that. So we all wish him well, and I'll be taking over on an interim basis. Yeah. Wait. I guess I'll introduce myself fully. Cameron Adams. Pronouns are he, him. I am wearing a green shirt, blue pants, and if you round up, I'm 6 feet tall. I am here with my wife and 2 children, Celia and Ilana. They are 7 and 9. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and my experience here at UU. The first time I came, I don't even remember how I found it. I don't know if I just Googled it, but I told Kim that we're going to come and see what this is all about, and they were meeting outdoors at Murray Park. And I was like, well, we'll see what these wackos say. I hadn't been to church in, 18 years at that point, something like that. And I found myself fully impressed with what I heard. We kind of eavesdropped from afar. I set out a mat on the grass, didn't introduce myself to anybody, just pretended like I was enjoying the park when I was listening. I've found myself thoroughly impressed with different mentions of philosophy. I heard Greek myth, we heard biblical stories. There was one more. I remember 3 the first time we came. Probably West African folklore or something. Who knows? We have such a diversity of stories and ideas, which I've grown to absolutely love here. I heard prayers to a soul, a spirit, a universe, a universal God. And I thought to myself, I don't even know who we're praying to. And I found myself completely at home to think, I don't understand fully, but I feel inspired, uplifted. I feel a community here. And I found a whole bunch of other things that I felt like I was missing in other communities. For a few years, I tried a couple of atheist kind of get-together Sunday organizations, and they were great, actually. A few things missing, I felt. and couldn't put my finger on it. I actually one day made a list of, hey, you know, what does church really offer? And there was just some things that is like, oh, a little rituals. We're gonna see a nice ritual here today. Song that we can share. The first time that summer, there was a really interesting ritual where we tied cloth together to remember some difficult times and combine the community and say the names of people that have been victims of crimes. It's an incredibly interesting, fascinating, and welcoming group here. We have a wonderful curriculum for the youth. For those that are here for the first time, we'll generally have a little children's moment, let's call it, a lesson up here with the congregation, and then we'll go downstairs. We'll go downstairs with the kids. We have pre-K babysitters down there. We have kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade, that in 2 different classes for that. You're welcome to come downstairs with your children if you would like. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had to speak publicly. This is strange looking people in the eyes like this, but I appreciate you working with me. And I look forward to working with your kids. I find a lot of energy from working with children. I actually quit my job a year and a half ago to try my hand at teaching. We've got teachers that are members here, and I respect them to no end because I substitute taught for about a year and a half and thought, this is too much. But it's definitely something I have experience with and I have a passion for, and we look forward to working with your kids, giving good moral lessons. That was the other thing. This is a place where we finally come together and actually talk about some virtuous things that we find on our own path, our own journey. It's not enough sometimes to just have a teacher say it at elementary school. You know, it's a great regular place to come. And yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Cameron. We're all very excited, and thank you for stepping up and being our interim DRE. Other announcement I want to make is that in 3 weeks from today, we'll be having our day of service. So if you come to the service here on December 1st, you'll have the opportunity to get your hands dirty and help with some service right here. We're also going to have service at another location at the same time. So please watch Happenings, the Happenings email that goes out for details so you can plan ahead and be in the place that you want to be in 3 weeks when we do our day of service, our annual day of service. Okay, it's time now to share warmth of community, so I invite you to stand, talk to your neighbors, and for just a couple of minutes.
It is so delightful to see so many new and returning faces this morning. I'm really glad to be in community, especially this week and especially at this time. I am the Reverend Lora Young. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a tall, pale-skinned woman with red hair. And it is not dyed, as my friend Ginger can attest. I'm excited because my friend from when I was 13 is here this weekend visiting, so yeah, it's like it's special for me. Like she's a lifelong UU too, so she's my inspiration for being here today. I have one more announcement we forgot. So before I do our call to worship, I just wanted to remind and invite those that are here today that after worship today, we have a workshop hosted by our endowment committee on estate planning. So if you have questions or you kind of want to wrap your head around what does estate planning mean, we have outside lawyer an outside expert, a lawyer coming in to teach a workshop on that. And it's free and it's after worship and it is in
The social hall.
the social hall. Perfect. So just downstairs and everyone's invited to come to the workshop, but also just to come to social hour and enjoy a cup of coffee and a treat. So I'm gonna invite us now to just land in this moment and this place. Because it's been a week, right? It's been a week. It's been a big week, a week that we anticipated for a long time, for more than a year. And I think it's safe to say that for those of us in this room, it didn't go how we hoped it would go. And that's a big deal. And we're entering into a time of uncertainty as a community. But I would like to say that this is the right kind of community to be in a time such as this. For those of you that are brand new today and you're wondering why we have a disco ball, it's because we have, it's not normally here, though maybe we'll keep it this year just for fun. We had our annual auction last night, which is our opportunity not just to raise funds for our community, but also to create lots of opportunities for people to be social with each other outside of Sunday morning. And we will have some of opportunities available still after the auction. So I encourage you, if you're looking for community, which we always need, but feels very needing perhaps on this day, to check that out and to see what might be available and sign up for. As we get ready to light our chalice, I call us into this place of worship with this poem by Mary Oliver called The Return. And I will note that it was written in 1964, which was a tumultuous time in our nation. The deed took all my heart, she writes. The deed took all my heart. I did not think of you, not till the thing was done. I put my sword away, and then no more the cold and perfect fury ran along my narrow bones. And then no more the black and dripping corridors held anywhere the shape that I had come to slay. Then for the first time I saw in the cave's belly the dark and clotted webs, the green and sucking pools, the rank and crumbling wall, the maze of passages. And I thought then of the far earth, of the spring sun and the slow wind and a young girl. And I looked then at the white thread. Hunting the Minotaur, I was no common man and had no need of love. I trailed the shining thread behind me for a vow. It did not think of you. It lay there like a sign coiled on the hull of Hull's great hoof and back into the world. Half blind with weariness, I touched the thread and wept. I was as frail as air. And I turned then with the white spool through the cold rocks, through the black rocks, through the long webs, and the mist fell, and the webs clung, and the rocks tumbled, and the earth shook, and the thread held. Let us light our chalice. You may stand as you're willing and able as we say our chalice lighting words, and Abe is invited to come forward to help us light our candle. If you are in our online community, we invite you to use the chat box to announce that the chalice is lit in the name of your street. And actually, let's take a moment, all of us here gathered here, and just greet. And just wave to the camera. We can't see them, but they can see us. And know that we are connected all together. Say our words with me. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. May our flame of resistance burn bright. You may be seated. Okay. So now because last week we did Samhain, and there wasn't really time. Now we're going to do our birthday blessing for the month of November. So if you have a birthday in November, or it's your first time and your birthday was in the summer and you don't want to wait till next summer, come on down for a birthday blessing. All right, so we have some cute animal stickers today for your birthday insignia. And so on behalf of the congregation, I offer you this blessing. May this year be one that is filled with the best kinds of adventures, the ones that stretch you and grow you, but don't hurt that much. May you also, when you do find those times where you are a bit overstretched, or maybe overstimulated or a little bit stressed, may you be surrounded by the perfect people to comfort and help you along the way. May you root down into the journey that is our shared communal life as humans. May you find joy in the small things. And may you always know that we've got your back. We are so glad that you were born and so glad you're a part of this community. Happy birthday. Oh, we're going to sing our children out now.
This community and the amazing change that it makes in our lives is made possible by you and me, the time and talent and treasure that we donate all the time. This is our community, folks. We make it happen, you and I, by showing up, by participating, by volunteering, by being part of it, and by donating to keep the lights on and keep things moving. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. This month, it's the Second Coalition for November and for December. This coalition of advocates, nonprofit partners, and local faith communities provides emergency shelter and a hot meal on the coldest nights to our unhoused neighbors. Please watch happenings and our social media spaces for opportunities to volunteer this winter. Please join me in reading our offertory words together. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We'll now accept the offering and invite the ushers to come up. Thank you.
For all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing for South Valley and for the work of the Second and Second Coalition. There have been many, many words spoken this week. And so instead of a spoken word prayer, I invite you now into a time of silence, after which we will participate in our joys and sorrows ritual together. Please join me in silence. This morning, in our joys and sorrow ritual, for those of you who have participated in the past, you'll notice it looks a little different. This is called a weeping bowl. So we'll proceed in the way we traditionally do, where you are invited to come up in silence and add a stone. But this time, if you have a joy, I invite you to put it in the bottom bowl, the blue wide bowl. And if you have a sorrow, to place it into the top of the vase. And as we add rocks to the water in the vase, the water will be displaced and weep down the side of the vase, thereby connecting our joys and our sorrows into one. I invite you to come forward and to linger as you wish at the front of the bowl, as you add both joys and sorrows. And both myself and Tom will be sort of near the front. And if you would like a hug today, you may ask for that. Let's begin. To represent that which remains unspoken but still helps in our hearts. This is for connecting our online community and their joys and sorrows to ours. This one is good. I'd like to invite Maria Andersen to come forward and share with us for a few moments.
Good morning. My name is Maria Andersen. My pronouns are she and her. It's spelled with an S-E-N, by the way. I'm wearing a blue skirt with windmills on it and fabulous shoes, and I'm a middle-aged white woman. I came to this church about 7 years ago, counting now, during the first Trump administration, when I couldn't be alone anymore, and I couldn't live with my anger and fear and empathy for the people who are being hurt by myself anymore. Coming into this second time, I have some new strategies that I would like to share with you. If you are a list maker, take out your phone or your paper so you're ready. I stopped looking at the media about 10 days before the election because what I had seen was that nothing moved the needle. Nothing. Fascism, misogyny, rape, meanness, bullying, nothing moved the needle. And about 10 days before the election, I had had enough. And my husband, who sometimes says things that are very wise, said, "You've just got to stop giving energy to this thing." And I said, "But I want to know what's going on in the world. I can't stop reading the news." And he said, and we talked about it. I said, "The only way I can stop reading the news is if somebody reads it for me and sends me all the articles I would want to have read so that I can just read those articles." And he said, "Okay, I'll do that for you." So I stopped giving my life energy to this about 10 days before the election. And about 7 days into that, I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I don't care any less about what's going on. I won't donate any less about what's going on. I'm not going to stop supporting the people around me any less because of what's going on. In fact, I'll support them more. But it is actually your choice what you choose to spend your energy on. And I was spending it on watching comedians make fun of the things that were going on. I was spending it on reading all of the articles with the angry headlines and the fearful headlines. And he pointed out that the truth is that in my life, day to day, I will still get up in the morning, I will still walk my dogs, I will still go to school, I will still teach kids, I will still call my friends, I will still support the people around me. I can choose to do that with all of my normal joy and energy, or I can do that with depression and anger and fear at my back. And so I'm choosing to do it with my normal energy. I also tell a story to my middle schoolers whenever they get out of hand, which is a lot, that they can choose to give oxygen to the fire or not. So what I mean by this is that there will often be a kid in the classroom who's really disruptive. If you're super lucky, 7 of them. And when they happen to be gone for the day, I have a talk with the other kids in the classroom and I say, have you ever seen a campfire? You know, roasted marshmallows, something like that. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we've done that." I said, "What happens when you blow on that fire?" "Oh, it gets bigger." "Right, it gets bigger." And if you choose to keep blowing into the fire, it will never go away. And this one, it's not going away, and I get that. But the more energy we put into clicking on the news stories, the less of the other stuff we're ever going to get. Like, I would actually love to get more news about the environment and what we're doing for education and all of those things, but we've gotten to this point where we have so much energy and clicking going to these stories that the media knows that's the only way they can make money. We have to stop giving oxygen to this thing. We don't have to stop supporting the people who need it, including ourselves. So here's my list. Number 1, stop giving your energy and life force to this man. Restrict your media. Maybe look once a week for half an hour on your busiest day when you're going to easily get distracted by the rest of the day and not let it take over your life. I don't think we should stop knowing what's going on in the world, but for most things that are going on in the world, once a week will be just fine. And for those things where once a week will not be just fine, I have number 2. Fund the legal battles. Unless you are a lawyer who can fight for the rights of immigrants, women, causes, those are the people who will react in the moment and fight. Make sure they have the money to do it. I can't do anything on a day when an executive order is dropped, but a good law firm can. And in Utah, more than 2 years after Roe versus Wade was overturned, we still have abortion in Utah. And the reason we still have it here is because of the lawyers at Planned Parenthood, who I fund every month. So, to make sure that we are reacting in the second things need to, fund the lawyers. And then third, find something that you can do to improve things for the people who will be most impacted around you. The people who are already today, under the Biden administration, targets of racism, homophobia, misogyny, and hate. Those people will have a worse time of it. Find the people around you who you can support and do a better job. Do a better job for 4 years, not just this week. Maybe for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but at least the next 4 years. Because that's what we can do to make an impact. When you think it's hopeless and that you can't do anything about it, you can. You can do things about it for the people who are around you. So here are some suggestions if you can't think of something to do. This is the second list. You could teach English to immigrants so that they feel more comfortable here, and you could show them in that act of love that there are Americans who care for them. You can get trained as a legal advocate to go with people to court and be the person who speaks good English and knows all the laws. There are not enough lawyers to help all of the people who will need help staying legally in the country, and lots of people will get swept up in nets that shouldn't catch them. We need people trained to do that work, and there are people who will provide that training if you decide to do it. Learn how to do the digging with sunshine laws to find the data that lawyers need for their causes. There's a fabulous group called Beyond Coal, funded by the Sierra Club, that has been systematically shutting down coal mines in the United States one by doing nothing other than finding data in politicians' own emails that show that they've been suppressing what coal companies have been telling people. They've been suppressing the truth. And then they bring it to light, sue the companies, and the companies have to decide whether to be less profitable or sunset themselves. That work is amazing. Volunteer at a hotline that will help people who are calling in and needing a friend to talk to. Be a resilient and consistent support network for somebody. I think we haven't done a good enough job of taking care of the people around us who have been really hurting economically. Volunteer to babysit kids, bring dinners to people, make their lives a little better. Tutor kids after school. There is no greater act of love than having confidence in somebody that they can do it. What kind of a role model do we want to be to the kids who are around us today? We have two choices. We can be mad, angry, and bitter, or we can be resilient. We can be a force for good. We can show that we are ethical people, and we can be happy. It is our choice. I hope you'll make that choice with me.
Thank you, Maria. I'm just going to give a few thoughts on something called the Serenity Prayer, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Here's how it goes. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, in classic UU fashion, I'm going to change it. I don't love that we're asking someone external to ourselves to grant us this thing. I'd rather have what I like to call the serenity aspiration. Very simple change, but I put in the words I strive for. So here's how it sounds. I strive for the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The next problem I have with this is that it presents a binary, and of course, like most binaries, it's a false binary. Not everything fits into two neat categories of the things that I can change and the things that I can't change. It turns out that there's a huge gray area in between of things that I have some influence over, but that are ultimately up to me and other people, and we work together. So here's another version, and this is the final one. I strive for the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the energy to exert influence for good, and the wisdom to not hold myself accountable for fixing the whole world. Now we'll have some congregational numbers, right? I'll let Lauren introduce.
Thank you, and I love your new version, Tom. So these songs came about as part of the Social Justice Songbook. It was formed after Trump was elected the first time, and a lot of musicians, conductors specifically got together and curated this amazing collection of songs. So these are two songs from that songbook. The first is called Bend the Arc, and the words and music are by Wendy Buck. The song was written in 2017. It's a call and response, so I'll sing the call and you will respond to that. Do we have text for them? Okay, great. So I'll sing, bend the arc and break the ceiling, and then you guys do it. Human rights for human beings. Awesome. Let's do it again. This time we won't stop. Bend the arc and break the ceiling. Human rights for human beings. Bend the arc and break the ceiling. Human for human beings. And then we're just going to sing this a few times. Bend the arc. Do it again? Let's do it again. Okay. Bend the arc and break the ceiling. Human rights for human beings. Bend the arc and break the ceiling. Human rights for human beings. Bend the arc, bend the arc, bend the arc, bend the arc. Awesome, great. The second song from the Social Justice Songbook is called I Lift My Voice. Words and music were written by Andrea Ramsey in 2017. I'll sing it one time through for you, and then we'll sing it together. When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When I try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. And for those of you with children or children in your lives, all these are available on YouTube, so your kids can listen to them too. But all right, let's sing it together.
When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When I lift my voice, let it be for good. Let me care as much as I know I should. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice.
Great, thank you, everyone.
See, we're getting prepared. I just want to offer you a story as we get ready to close out and go back into this heartbreakingly broken world. We know that the election was awful. Yes? The anticipation of it, the enduring of it, and the aftermath of it. And as Maria has lifted up for us, the important lesson that we can immediately take from this is that caring for each other is one of the best and most important things that we can do. Many of us felt shock that first night and day, and I would suspect for many of us that shock led to a feeling of numbness, and that somehow that feeling of numbness is beginning to wane, and in the waning, there's kind of a space, an undefined space. And we likely talk to each other about moving through those stages of grief. And I want to remind you that grief is not a linear process. It is a circular process of visiting questions over and over again. And that through all of this, we are being changed. And we can either allow the world to change us, or we can change the world. And so I want to tell you just a really brief story from the Hebrew text about Vashti and Esther, two powerful women who changed the world and continue to change their world through their story. Now, most of us who were raised in Christian tradition are probably familiar with the story of Esther and how she saved her people from extermination from an evil king. And many of us know far less about Vashti, the king's first wife. Vashti, who is married to the king, is often portrayed as vain, but also headstrong, independent, and assertive. And she's executed for this, of course. So that's how the story opens, is that Vashti, who is, I'm imagining, a powerful, let's say 50-year-old woman who knows what the deal is, and she is headstrong and assertive and independent. But because the king is cruel, he dispatches with her and decides that now he needs a new wife. And so what does he do? He holds a beauty contest in which all marriageable women are compelled to participate in. And also the king is hatching a plan on the side to exile and annihilate the Jewish people. But Mordecai is one of his advisors, and Mordecai is Jewish, but the king, of course, doesn't know it because this is a novel in the Bible, right? Like, it's all these layers of subterfuge going on here. And so Mordecai hears about this plan, and he thinks to himself, okay, so this beauty contest is going on, and I have a beautiful niece named Esther, and she's so beautiful, I'm sure she will win the contest. And of course, because it's a novel, she enters the contest and she wins. And she will become known as the queen who saves her people from certain genocide. And it's fascinating that despite the fact that she saves her people from genocide, she is often portrayed as sweet, docile, kind, passive, which is an odd set of qualities to assign someone who stands up to the king and saves her people. But she does it. Remember, it's a novel, so things work out in a novel. Esther wins the contest, marries the king, becomes queen. She's a little stressed out about this, but she finds a way to manipulate the evil king into abandoning his evil plan to annihilate the Jewish people, the end. But wait, there is always more to a biblical story. That is the power and the beauty of the stories in the Hebrew text. For it is actually a story about code switching, which is that term that we use in the modern world to describe how people who are at the margins of society endure, create community, survive, and find a way through together. It is not a recipe for avoiding all harm at all times, but it is a way for creating community under duress. So the story opens and the people are full of fear and they are enduring a time of great harm under the rule of the king. But then things change, right? Vashti is dispatched. Esther comes in. There's an evil plot, and we find ourselves in the midst of a liminal time, a time in the middle of the story when we don't know exactly how things are going to go. The underpowered characters, though, they know what levers to pull because they've been teaching each other how to survive these difficult times for centuries. They know how to move in liminal spaces with resilience, with courage, with cunning. By the end of the story, of course, justice is restored. And many people just leave it at that. They admire Esther as sort of this model of femininity, both courageous and beautiful, the perfect 1980s woman. She can mother and she can wear a power suit with shoulder pads. But what about Vashti? What about Vashti? This place, this woman that we know so little about at the beginning of the story. The first wife. Vashti is often portrayed as the foil to Esther, the one who embodies the worst so that Esther can be the best. But doesn't that strike you as a rather patriarchal interpretation of her character? She was, of course, as we said, known to be headstrong, overpowering, outspoken, the qualities so often vilified in our female presidential candidates. And the king in the story embodies all the worst qualities of masculinity, violence, cruelty, capriciousness, and I suspect not a great lover, frankly, because, he has to compel people. He is the ultimate emperor with no clothes. His love of power ultimately becomes his undoing. The story of Esther is about what we do when we are faced with a cruel and violent regime committed to the annihilation of those that get in the way and how to show up for justice and love anyway. I'd like to imagine Vashti and Esther as two sides of the same coin, both courageous, both outspoken, both cunning, and one pays a terrible price. But so does the other. I would like, though, to imagine Vashti as that proto-feminist, like so many other sisters before and after her who paid a terrible price. If that story had been set in Salem, Massachusetts in the 1690s, she would have been called a witch and burned at the stake. She is the model of all the women who have paid the price. And Esther is the model for how we go forward despite the prices we so often tragically have to pay. We need both Vashti and Esther. For one, perhaps we can even imagine Esther is the younger version of who Vashti ultimately became. And the price we sometimes have to pay for being outspoken, wily, justice-oriented people. And there's a cautionary tale about who writes those stories to begin with, who writes the story of Vashti and Esther. For Vashti loses her life, but she also loses her narrative. And Esther's narrative is written again and again for the patriarchy, even though she was pretty rad. We're not going to lose our narrative around here, are we? Our world may have ended on Tuesday, and we are now in a new world. Not one that we would have hoped to arrive to, but it is a liminal space. And as such, it is also a deeply creative space. Things are not as predictable and time-bound as we once thought. The real has been revealed. The story of what will happen, a story of what happened in the election has concluded. But like all stories, real and imagined, it is not the end of the story. For here we are, the world goes on. And so shall we. Let us remember that while this is a liminal space, while this is a difficult space, while this can be a space of feeling fearful for what might yet come, it is also a space to practice resilience, to remember to conserve our energy. There is no bear in the back of the sanctuary. So let us do what we can in this moment to build our community. That is what Vashti, Esther, her uncle Mordecai, that is what they did. And it can work for us too. It worked because they had a strong sense of connection and a sense of community. And I will offer you this about Vashti on the margins of that story. Her name, the name Vashti, means beautiful one, full of goodness, grace, and style. Beautiful one, full of goodness, grace, and style. It can also be translated as the word thread in Hebrew, symbolizing our ability to create community and connection with others. So right there, in the beginning of the story, just as her life is ending, is a code switch. Beauty, grace, goodness, and a way through. So from Vashti to Esther to all of us here, there is one common thread. And that is the thread that we will be holding on to as we move forward. I will offer you this as an uplifting reminder of how also to get through by one of our favorite Shel Silverstein, where the sidewalk ends. There is a place where the sidewalk ends. before the street begins, where the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson light, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black, and the dark street winds and bends past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, and we shall walk, let us walk, with a walk that is measured and slow, and watch where the chalk white arrows go, to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we will walk with a walk that is measured and slow. We'll go where the white chalk white arrows go. For the children, they mark, and the children, they know the place where the sidewalk ends. May it be so, and amen. I invite you to rise as we extinguish our communal chalice. And the words are in your order of service and projected on the screens. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. Please remain standing for our benediction and our final singing. As you go forth today, I encourage you to find and hold that thread, and to remind others to pick up that thread and to not let it go. William Stafford often talks about that in his poem, The Way It Is. And he talks about there's a thread that you follow, and it goes among the things that change. That tragedies happen and people get hurt and you suffer and you get old, but nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. But you don't ever let go of the thread. So do threading and weaving and knitting ourselves together in community. Let us commit ourselves to that work today and in the days to come. And let us sing ourselves out of this space and into the world. It's number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. If you're not familiar with it, it is zippy.
Mm-hmm.